talking to Steve.
Hi,
Hello, Steve.
let me get this adjusted.
I was just giving it about 2 more minutes. I think we've got like 3 people on. I was giving it.
Oh, okay.
I was giving it about 2 more minutes, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Yeah, I can stick around probably for about 15 minutes or so.
Well, and it probably this probably will not take longer than that. Yeah, I got like 2 minutes off. So, where's your candy stripe outfit?
Blue vest instead.
Blue vest instead. Okay.
Actually, Community General did better. They gave their volunteers red blazers, but then Upstate took them over, and I think they cut that off.
Kind of like the Masters, except red instead of green.
Yeah.
Well, you look marvelous.
Oh, thank you. No, I was thinking of trying to. I was thinking of trying to set up somewhere where you could get a view of what's going on in the hospital, but then I realized that could cause a HIPAA violation, so I gave up on that idea.
Yeah, and you may just attract unwanted attention to yourself. Yeah, who's this guy with this cell phone camera trying to take pictures of you? Okay, well.
So what I thought I'd do with you, if it's okay, is if you record it and get me the file, I can post that on our YouTube account.
Yep.
And give people an idea of what the meeting looks like and
Yep.
so forth from their viewpoint.
Okay, well, it's now 1 o'clock, so I'll go ahead and get started. I welcome everybody that joined, and I imagine a few more might join afterwards. My name is Carl Schermack, and I am the chairman of the Syracuse Elfun Society. And I think we also have Cindy and Steve Oyer on as well, who are members of the board of directors. So just want to talk a little about Zoom, because frankly, a year ago, I don't know, I certainly didn't even know Zoom existed, and I doubt many of the rest of you did as well. Maybe you did, but Zoom is just a commercial product, and it's used to facilitate online meetings.
The time is 6 p.m.
Nicholas, if you're on, if you can maybe mute yourself or turn the radio behind you down, because we can hear. Okay, so it's used to facilitate online meetings or webinars. And you might say, well, what's the difference between a meeting and a webinar? And just very simply, a meeting is a gathering of individuals where there's like give and take, where everybody participates. And a webinar is generally where there's one person presenting, and there could be up as many as 10,000 people on the other end of things taking it in. Now, there are other products besides Zoom. You might be more familiar with WebEx or Skype or Teams or a number of other products. But as the meeting organizer of this meeting, I have a number of options that I can do. And one is that I can have the option to allow participants to join before the host. And in this case, I think a couple of you were already on when I joined the meeting at 10 minutes of. So I have that option. And then I also have the option of having a waiting room. You know, when you go to the doctor or to the dentist, you usually have to wait in a waiting room and get called in. Well, that's one of the options. I could have you sitting in a waiting room and bring you in individually. I can also make a decision whether to mute or to not mute the participants in the meeting. So I could have everybody join in a muted fashion. And I think for our presentation on the 22nd with St. Joseph, that is going to be the case, because we'll have a number of people. And so that we don't have any distractions, we'll probably bring everybody on in a muted fashion, okay? So now during the meeting, I have a number of options that I can do. And one is that I could share my screen. And during the course of this, and you can play with this on your own, but during the course of this, if I take my cursor and I bring it down towards the bottom of the screen, you'll see that there's a whole menu that that opens up. And so I have things like, it says, I have one icon for participants, another one for chat, another one says share screen. And so I'm going to go to that icon that share screen, and I'm going to click on that. And now I could then click on a document that I wanted everybody to look at. So now, does everybody see like a PowerPoint that I've put together? So this says, welcome Syracuse Elfun Society.
Yep.
So
Yes.
for instance, our presenter on the 22nd might have slides that she wants us to see, and she can share those. Now, I also have the option, let's say that Steve had something that he wanted the group to see. As the organizer, then I can actually move control of the screen share to Steve, at which point then he could bring up a document on the screen and share it with us as well. And then when he was done, I would then take control back. So we do that a lot when we're doing training in my job, and I want to see what the other people are doing, because they're obvious that they've done something wrong or they wouldn't be coming to me in the first place. But they say that they did everything right, and I'll say, well, I'll tell you what, you share your screen and then I'll just watch everything you do. And in most cases, then that's where we see where the step was missed. So if I want to do the stop screen share, I'll just click stop screen share. And that should bring us back to now looking at a picture of Steve and Nicholas and myself and Cindy. We got Ronald R's iPad, but I don't recognize Ronald. So I don't know if Ronald's on, but if you could introduce yourself, and then also Nicholas, because you're a couple of folks that that I haven't met. But they could also be muted. Nicholas, are you on?
Yes, I'm on.
Okay, well, if you have any questions, certainly feel free, since this is a meeting versus a webinar or a presentation, you can certainly just interrupt and ask any questions that you might have. During the course of the webinar that we're going to see, if everybody is muted, then how do I ask a question, that you might say? Well, again, if I take my cursor and I bring it towards the bottom of my screen and I bring up that menu bar again, one of the things is chat, okay? And so, Steve, if you talk to the presenter before the meeting on the 22nd, you can ask her how she wants to handle that. But generally what we would do is one person, the meeting moderator or whatever, would be the person to receive the chats. So as soon as I click on that button, it's going to basically open up a chat, and then it says to, and I could send it to everyone. But really what you want is you want to have it to just go to, say, Steve Oyer. Okay. And then when people come up with questions, then they just type in their question, Steve gathers them up, and then the presenter gives Steve the microphone. She unmutes Steve, and then he can ask the questions in behalf of the people in the group. And then again, if we have a large group, that's generally preferable to having people just jumping in and possibly stepping over each other. Does that make sense, Steve?
Yep.
Yeah. For what it's worth, Carl Brandis and I have talked a little bit about that. We did send the request out to all the Elfuns for any topics that they would like to have covered.
I saw that.
Yep, we got that. All of those questions, we ended up with 3 pages of questions. Those have gone on to the presenter from St. Joseph's. She said, wow, these are great. I'm going to tailor my presentation just to cover these. So the question should be answered probably about a week from now. I'm going to get in touch with her and try to work out some information on how she wants to run the meeting. Yep. And what I anticipate doing is I'll put out an email about a week before the meeting saying, okay, getting close to the time of the meeting, here's the way we think the meeting is going to be run. And then we'll take it from there. Maybe it'll work smoothly, maybe it won't, but at least we'll pass the information out to folks so that they should know what to expect when they first sign on.
Yeah. Well, for Nicholas and Ronald and anybody, Cindy and anybody else that joined, if you have gotten to this point where you are seeing me and seeing Steve, then you've done all the heavy lifting already, because this is going to be a webinar of sorts, and once you're in, you're there to take in the shows, and then Steve, if you can just ask her, because I can almost guarantee that her presentation is going to be so great that it may generate some additional questions.
Yes. Yep.
And I still think that would be better handled in a chat format, probably, if we have 30 or 40 people. And, and so she might just say, I want to designate Steve as the moderator or whatever, and then just have all of the questions, have all of the people direct the questions to you, and then you can ask them. However that you guys decide to do it is fine with me. So that's pretty much it. Zoom 101. We talked about how I can share my screen. We talked about how I can show people different documents. We talked about chatting, the difference between webinars and meetings. I certainly want to thank you. Does anybody have any questions that they would want to ask?
No, I'm clear.
Okay, so you feel like you'll be able to get on the 22nd and kind of learn some. I'm a sponge, so I like to learn as much as possible.
Steve?
Yes.
Hey, Mr. Williams.
Yeah, John Williams. Well, you answered my question here. I was just wanting to make sure I was being picked up on your end there. It looked all right on my end.
Nope, John, you're coming across very well.
Excellent.
And like I said, I'm not sure exactly how we're going to run the meeting on the, at the end of October. But I'll try to get some information out about a week in advance on that. But look, the fact that you signed on right now says that you got like 99% of the everything that you need to know right now to participate in the meeting later on.
Yeah, well, that sounds good. Yeah, quite smooth.
Sounds good to me too.
Yeah. Cross your fingers, guys. Cross your fingers.
Okay, very good. If nobody has any questions, I'll go ahead and end the meeting. As the organizer, I basically end the meeting, and I do that basically on the same menu bar that we did everything else. I want to thank everybody else, and if you have any questions, certainly you can send me a note on cchermak@hubbell.com, and or give me a call on 315-436-8696. And thanks a lot for joining.
Okay, good deal. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep. Thanks to everyone.
Thanks.